You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Hello, I'm your Superintendent, Jason Manuel. Thank you for joining us for the December 2018 installment of the Germantown Municipal School District Spotlight on Excellence. Today our show will take a detour from its normal programming. We are calling this month's special episode Behind the Board. I will be interviewing each of our 5 school board members. Joining me in the studio for each interview will be student co-hosts. Each student that joins us today is a student leader, whether it's on an advisory committee, house leadership team, student council, or SGA. We welcome our first student co-host, Colin Bland at Farmington Elementary School, and veteran school board member Linda Fisher to the studio. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, Ms. Fisher, you are one of our founding board members since 2013 for the school district. So the first question, I guess, is a hard one. What really made you think to put your name in? Because we weren't a school district yet. We were trying to form something new and different. We weren't sure that it was going to happen. What made you decide to run for this position and really take a leadership position in our schools?
Well, I think there were several reasons. One, I'd always volunteered with children, whether it was Girl Scouts, teaching Sunday school. In other communities I lived, I'd started Safety Town, I'd started Christian preschool. I'd volunteer in our schools here for years. I was a substitute teacher. I worked here at Houston. And so I really had spent all my time volunteering and working with children. And then we had the opportunity to create our own school district. And I felt it was really something I wanted to be involved in. And I wanted to be involved and see that we made the right decisions as we opened our doors and made the right decisions to educate our students.
And I think people don't really realize the amount of work that we had to do from the beginning, whether it was payroll system or curriculum or textbooks.
I think people don't realize that really when there were 5 of us elected in 2013, and at that time we had no money, we had no office, we had no employees, we had no superintendent, we had no policies, and so really we did start from scratch, and I give a lot of credit to all those original board members for what we did to open our doors.
Now, Colin, you have a question that you can ask Ms. Fisher. What's your first question that you have for her?
Do you have anything to tell us about your family?
Oh, sure. I think you have a picture there. First, that's my husband, Scott, and then my daughter, Lauren, and my son, Nathan. And Lauren and Nathan both graduated from Houston High School, and they also went to Farmington Elementary, which is where you go,
yeah.
Yes. And Farmington is a sweet school for me because they really enjoyed it there. And they went on to Mississippi State University. And I think we also talked about, I think you play baseball, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And my son played, he actually was on the golf team here at Houston High.
Oh, wow. So when you're thinking about our district and the experience that your children had, were there things that you wanted to replicate in our new district for them or things that you wanted to be different?
I think that when I think about my children, I really had, like every child, every child is different. And I had two extremes. I had one child that really didn't have to work that hard. And I had one child that really had to work hard and who had a learning disability. And so I think that plays in the back of my mind with a lot of our decisions is that we have to educate all children. And
regardless of where they come in our doors.
Regardless how they learn, and that has always been important in my decisions.
Now you have another question for Ms. Fisher? I'll take this one.
Do you have a hobby you would like to tell me about or all of us about?
Sure. One of the things I do is I play a lot of tennis, and I think you have a picture there. This is my tennis team. This is my senior tennis team. Don't laugh. We actually won. We won here, and then we won the city playoffs.
Wow.
And we won state, and then we went to the sectionals in Jackson, Mississippi about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so I do enjoy playing tennis. It's nice. You meet a lot of different people. It's good exercise and a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, Ms. Fisher, for being here, and thank you for your service up to this point. Like I said, we were building something from scratch, and I think we can all be impressed with how far we've gotten and look forward to the future.
We can. Thank you.
We've enjoyed the leadership skills and hard work ethic of Ms. Fisher since opening the schools, and we look forward to the expertise and wisdom that she will bring to the board in 2019. After the break, we will be joined in the studio by new board member, Reverend Rebecca Luter. Welcome back. I am Superintendent Jason Manuel. Our next school board member guest is Reverend Rebecca Luter, who has been active in the Germantown community for several years. Joining me as co-host is Riverdale Student Council President Declan Story. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Well, your situation is a little bit different than some of the other board members. You were just appointed on the board in September.
Right.
But it did require you really stepping out and thinking about how you can serve our community. So my first question for you is, what led you to really serve us in this next step for the Germantown School Board?
I think as pastor, you're always looking at the ways that you can serve your church, your community, your world. And I have always felt a sense of call to serving in a public sort of fashion, but at the same time been reticent to run for office and really not able to run for office while I'm a pastor of a church, just what all that takes.
Right.
And so this was an opportunity for me to step in and serve in a way that I had not anticipated getting to do, but I'm really excited about the opportunity.
But even that was still a little bit stressful, because I think you had a big interview process, the application process you had to go through with
Right.
the BMA to get appointed.
Right.
So thank you for putting your name in that. So Declan, we're ready for your first question. What question do you have for Ms. Luter?
Okay, so since you said you were a pastor of a church, what church do you pastor, and what do you do as a pastor there? What are your duties with that?
Okay, so I am the senior pastor at Farmington Presbyterian Church and Day School. And so my duties there are, of course, worship and also spiritually leading the congregation and overseeing the day school as well with the managers and the directors there. So that's what I do with my life.
I think it was interesting. We were recently on a trip with the Tennessee School Board Association, and we were talking about some of those overlaps, and we were really talking about the developments, the changes that we see in children over time.
Right.
So I think it's helpful that you're seeing from your preschool.
From the
Tell us about what grades do y'all serve, what ages do y'all serve at your
So
school?
we start at 3 years old, and we have 3-year-old classes, 4-year-old classes, and then sort of that last transition year before kindergarten, and then we have before and after care for K through 8.
And I think what's interesting for us is we were talking about the difference between how parents, millennials, are raising their children versus older parents, and we're seeing
Right.
differences in how parents are raising their children.
We are, and we're seeing differences in children and their preparedness, even coming in at 3 years old for interacting, and some of the concerns with the amount of
Technology
iPad and technology in front of them all the time, and how to balance that, because that is a way that we learn, but it isn't the only way that we learn.
That's right.
And there's so much that is necessary for children to learn socially and emotionally as well.
And Declan, you've got another question for Ms. Luter?
So what are your hobbies outside of working at all? Like, what places do you travel? What do you like to do? And stuff like that.
Well, I love to travel, and so you've got a picture of me and my family at Antelope Canyon there, and that was this summer. We went to Antelope Canyon, and then we also love to cruise, so you'll catch us on the beaches when we have fall break and spring break if we can get away. But I'm married. I have a husband and 2 children, Nicholas and Elizabeth, and they're in Nicholas is in 8th grade at Houston Middle, and Elizabeth is in 5th grade at Dogwood. So they keep me busy. They're very involved in theater. My husband teaches theater. And so theater is definitely a hobby. Traveling is definitely a hobby as well.
And you've got a connection besides your husband with education and what you do with the preschool too. Didn't you say your parents had something to do with the education field?
I am surrounded by teachers, is what I joke about. My father is a retired high school teacher, taught for 36 years. He taught band and choir. My husband teaches theater at Collierville High School, and he has taught, I think this is his 21st year. My mother is currently acting Vice President of Dyersburg State, but she's retired
Wow.
as Vice President of the community college there, and has stepped back into that role for a short period of time, we hope. And my mother-in-law is retired as a middle school principal. My father-in-law is retired as an elementary music teacher, and he still teaches in retirement 3
Well,
days a week.
We thank you for stepping into this role for us and helping serve us and really looking at the whole child and uniting our community.
Well, and I love to learn. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
With a true focus on children, we believe that Reverend Luter will be an asset to the school board. Before the break, we will go on location for this month's Student Live to Dr. Long Long Kang's orchestra classroom at Houston High School. They are currently rehearsing for their winter holiday performance. Before the break, we heard Houston High School Orchestra rehearsing for their winter concert, which is on December 4th at 6 p.m. at GPEC. Next up, we welcome returning board member Amy Oaf as she begins her third year on the school board. Ms. Oaf has served in numerous volunteer leadership roles within the district. Also joining us will be special co-host Avery Berry, who serves on the Houston leadership team at Houston Middle School. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Oaf, this is your third year
Yes.
as a school board member. Tell us, once again, this is a thankless, hard job to be a school board member because you really are driving the vision for the district and helping us choose our path. What made you put your name out there and what made you think to serve in this capacity?
Well, it's a privilege to serve. It is hard, but it is a privilege. I was there when we started moving toward local schools, and it was exciting, and I've been a part of schools from the beginning once my kids started, and of course I was a teacher before. So once I started seeing us form the district and the success we were having, I also thought there were some voices that needed to be heard. And I thought with my teaching background, as a parent being in the trenches at the time, I could bring a unique voice to the board and help set the vision beyond getting it started, but what's our next level? What's our next step? What's our goal 5-10 years from now? So that was my hope, was to bring that voice to the board.
Avery, you've got your first question for Ms. O.
Yes, sir. So I heard you like puzzles, and I was wondering what type were your favorite?
Oh, so yes, puzzles are one of my hobbies, jigsaw puzzles. I really like any kind of puzzle. You hand me a Sudoku or a crossword puzzle, I'm just as enthralled. But my family likes to do those together, particularly on the holidays. Christmas, we usually have a puzzle we do as a family. You can see my daughter in this picture, and my sister, she comes down from out of town, and we work on puzzles. And at the beach, we usually take a jigsaw puzzle and work on it. Just something about the challenge and being able to conquer it. I don't know, but I do really enjoy them.
Well, you have served even before you stepped onto our board, and I think that's one of the things that really sets you apart is you continue to serve our district in numerous roles, whether it's with the band or PTOs. Tell us about some of those things that you did volunteer-wise for our district.
Well, so I started as a room parent, as so many moms do when their kids start, and worked my way through the PTA at Dogwood and then PTO now at Houston
And actually
Middle.
served as president,
I was
if I'm not mistaken.
PTA president, yes, for a couple of years at Dogwood when we first started, which was even more exciting because you really saw the nuts and bolts of how a local school district was starting from birth. And then from there, when my kids started moving into Houston Middle School, I work actually as Houston Middle School directory person, so our PTO directory. I jokingly say I'm the eye candy. My husband's actually the one that does the work. Edward does the technical side of structuring the directory for me, which is kind of funny. But I also help with that and whatever they've got going on. And then the band. Two of my children are in the high school band now, and one of my youngest is in the middle school band. And so anytime they need something, I work in hospitality for band boosters. I love it. That's a special group of kids, and I get really excited about the opportunity to serve them.
Now we're ready for another question. Your last question, what do you have for Avery?
Speaking of band, how many years were you in it?
So
You're also
I was
in band.
also in band. I started in 6th grade playing the clarinet. You can see that beautiful picture of myself in my uniform. That's a freshman year uniform. I played the clarinet and bass clarinet, and I was in band 6 years. All of my years 6 years, 7 years. I have to do math, and that's really hard. 7 years, 6th grade to 6th, 7th, 8th. Yeah.
Did you play in college?
I did not. I decided when I went to college I wanted to just kind of reinvent myself and be my own person, and I was a little concerned with workload, with the commitment that band requires. Their hours of work. But it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't trade that time for the world. I still have friends from high school. As a matter of fact, I married my best friend from high school, met my husband in band. So it's been good to me. My kids hopefully will have not necessarily the same experience, but as wonderful experience making friends and learning how music is something you'll have for all your life.
Well, thank you, Ms. Oaf, and thank you, Avery, for
Thank
being
you.
here. We are thankful for Ms. Oaf's service to our schools. After the break, we'll return with more segments of Behind the Board. Welcome back. So far, we've heard from 3 school board members. Our next guest has served as the president of the National PTA and was appointed to the school board in 2017. Newly elected and currently serving as the school board chairman, we welcome Betsy Landers to the studio. Joining us also is Anna Kate Kramer, who serves as the SGA president for Houston High School. Thank you all for being here. Well, we've got a lot to learn about you, Ms. Landers, so we will start with Ms. Kramer. You want to ask her one of your questions?
Do you have any hobbies?
Yes, I do. Not that I get to do them very often. I love to paint, particularly watercolors. I do that, and I, believe it or not, I'm a huge reader.
And I think we actually have a picture of some of your...
Of my studio, yes, part of my studio. And I am a voracious reader.
Well, I've had the pleasure of getting to know you since you were appointed to our school board. But that's not really where your work with education started,
No.
and we are very thankful for your service. But you've had a long history of serving students, not just in our local area, but nationally. Tell us a little bit about what you've done for students.
Oh, my local work began in 1991. I also was president of Tennessee PTA and advocated on a state level with our legislature on a number of things, particularly a change to TCA 49, which governs public education. On a national level, it was a whole different adventure, so to speak. Being able to walk the halls of Congress, meet with congressmen on particular topics to deal with public education in particular. I worked very closely with Secretary Arnie Duncan, Secretary of Education, on school safety. In the aftermath of Sandy Hook, we took a personal interest, both Secretary Duncan and I, in educating school administrators as well as parents and community on what we need to do to ensure that our students are safe while they're at school.
And I think that's still a concern for us, and unfortunately that's become a trend that we see all too regularly, that we have to worry about the safety of our students every day.
Yes, and it's a particular passion of mine.
Now, you've got another question for Ms. Landers.
I do. Can you tell me what you were like in high school?
Of course. I grew up in a very small farming community in Arkansas. So I was very active in high school. I was a cheerleader. I tried out for sports, but was quickly told by a coach that I needed to go out for cheerleading because I'd never be a basketball player. So, but I was very active in all of my classes. Favorite class was biology.
So you had a well-rounded high school experience.
Well-rounded high school experience. Had a wonderful time. It was great. Lifelong friends.
Well, let's talk about the future and some of the things that you want to accomplish going forward with our school board. When you think about now that you are with us again for 4 more years, what are some of the things that you want to see us do moving forward as a school district?
We have a lot on our plate this coming year with the opening of a new school and with expanding and exploring the possibilities of the Health Sciences Academy. But from that perspective, I think what excites me the most is the development of a new strategic plan to guide the district, because it allows us the opportunity to dream and vision where we want our district to be over the course of the next 5 years. And I think the sky is the limit. I think we have proven to be an excellent district in our first 5 years, but there's so much more we can do for our students. And it's going to be fun to explore those opportunities.
Well, I'm going to end with a hard one.
Okay.
And so this is not scripted or planned. So when you have your elevator speeches and you go out and you talk to people and someone's asking, should I move to Germantown, or why would I want to go to Germantown schools? When you think about what's one thing that you would tell them is, hey, this is one way that we are a great school system. Do you have some things that you tell people that you're proud of?
Oh, I do. And I get asked often when I'm not in Germantown. We are a warm and welcoming community, and our school system reflects that. We have achieved so much in our first 5 years. We're an exemplary school, one of the best in Tennessee. But more than that, our students are top-notch.
Well, thank you, Ms. Landers, for serving us. And thank you for being here. And thank you for being
Thank
a
you,
leader
Annika.
at Houston High School. We are thankful that Ms. Landers will be continuing her service on our school board. Next up is newly elected school board member Angela Griffith after the break. In this episode, we've had a chance to get to know each school board member and discuss their vision for our school district in 2019. We now welcome new school board member Angela Griffith and Dogwood student Molly Huffman to the studio. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Angela, for throwing your name in the hat and running for school board. It's a difficult challenge, I know running a campaign, but we are excited that you have now joined our team. And we have some questions because we want to get to know you. So our first one, Molly, are you ready to ask her a question about a picture? What do you want to ask her about this one?
What are your sons' names?
My son's names. So Molly, the younger one there with the plaid shirt, that's John David. And the older son there, Henry, that's Henry. They both go to Dogwood with you.
Thank you.
Now, what grades are your sons in at Dogwood?
Henry's in 5th and John David is in 2nd.
Now, obviously, that's a really good reason to run for school board, but I'm sure there's more than that. So when you were thinking about running for school board, what really prompted you and thought, I want to be involved with this, I want to make a difference in my son's school district and my city school district?
Well, that's a great question. I like to tell people that and they know this, they were kind of down on the bottom of the list, so I kind of considered it when I did. It was something I had thought about since the inception of our district, frankly. I just kind of thought I might wait till they got a little older. As Ms. Landers just pointed out, we're kind of 5 years into our new district, and I thought it was a really perfect time. Sometimes the time we don't pick it, it picks us, and I felt like it was a perfect opportunity this particular year. And I think that just being not only a resident, a longtime resident, a product of the schools myself, which I'm really proud of. I think that gives me a little bit of history and background that I kind of bring to the table, if you will, but also just some of my professional experiences that I think that I can bring to be part of the future.
And we talked yesterday, because we were meeting as a board, or actually earlier in the week, about your experience. And you talked about a product of the system. You are a product of 2 of our schools. Tell us a little bit about Riverdale, and then you and I are both graduates of Germantown High School. Tell us about, how long did you go to Riverdale?
I was a 9-year student, which is a big deal in any time, in the 80s or in the 2000s, to be able to have a family that stays in the same place and be able to be in the same school for that length of time is a feat in and of itself, but it certainly was a benefit to me and my family.
And you also have a claim to fame that you were the Germantown Red Devil.
I was the mascot in 1993 and 94 for Germantown High School, the Red Devil. I was most school-spirited, absolutely.
It takes some school spirit.
Indeed.
Now, Molly, you've got another question from Miss Angela, and I think you like this picture. What do you want to ask her about her boys?
Does your boys like football, please?
Yes, Molly, my boys love football. They both play football, and they really enjoy it, not only with GFL here in our community, but also just in the backyard anytime.
And I think for you two, that's also a family commitment. When we talk about what you and your husband do, your husband is involved in their athletics?
Absolutely. My husband, Brad Griffith, he coaches and directs both with the GBL, Germantown Baseball League, and also the Germantown Football League, GFL.
So besides your service throughout the community, when you look forward to the future of Germantown School, this is the same question I asked Ms. Landers. What are the things that excite you? And when you see us going forward, what are you excited about accomplishing while you're on our board?
Short term, obviously, we do have the new school opening in 2019, which is wonderful. It is also a big opportunity for the expansion of our district, obviously adding an additional school. We have a lot of people in our community and a lot of people that want to continue to come to our community for, I believe, this wonderful product of public schools and education that we put forth. We want to continue to be the top option for people as they move here, but we also want to continue to take care of the folks that are already here. I think it's really important that we kind of take this opportunity, I feel like really especially with the new school opening, kind of bringing all the schools together, especially at that elementary level, kind of expressing that unification of kind of one Germantown school district.
And that's part of our goals too, when we think about a new school, is creating a new family. Well, we are thankful, like I opened with, that you have now joined our family on the school board, and we are thankful for your service, because it is a thankless job, but we're excited that you have stepped up to help us.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of it, and thank you for having me.
And Molly, thank you. You did great asking
Molly,
questions.
thank you very much. You're a wonderful interviewer.
Well, that's all we have time for on this month's Spotlight on Excellence. If you'd like more information about this or any other show on Germantown Municipal Television, visit us on our website at www.gmtvonline.org. Until next time, this has been Superintendent Jason Manuel for this month's installment of the Germantown Municipal School District's Spotlight on Excellence.